Welcome back. I'm Sam Barer, the Collector Car Guru. And today, it's 5 things you need to know to make your garage the perfect space for your classics. I've seen some great stuff along the way and integrated into my own shop. And these are the things that really you should think about integrating into yours to make it the best for you. So let's start with numero uno. It's that being cold absolutely sucks. So get a heater. Now today, it's rain mixed with snow outside. It's 37 degrees, but in here, it's 60 degrees. Why? Because I've got a big heater back there. Now, for a couple of years after I built this shop, I didn't have any heat or any insulation. And it was one night that a buddy and I were working on a Porsche 928 on the ground in the middle of winter. And we had little plug-in space heaters all around us, and we couldn't feel our fingers. And it was miserable. And I looked over at my friend and said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I went out and found myself this heater behind me. And it cost me $220 used on Craigslist. Now, it's not just about comfort. It's also about if you want to use many products, paints, primers, adhesives, they need to be in certain temperature ranges. And if your shop is below 60 degrees, well, you may not be able to use those products effectively. So go out there and get yourself something, either an electrical heater or in this case, a industrial natural gas powered unit that you can control by a thermostat. I have mine set to 47 degrees all year round to prevent the cars from really ever getting that cold. And it's wonderful because I can come in here and bump the heat up, and within 10 minutes, this whole building is a nice, nearly 60 degrees, and I'm good to go. Now, obviously, one of the downsides to a big commercial heater is it's kind of loud when it's going. But the upside is it's very fuel efficient. So number 2 is get off the ground and get up into the air with a lift. Now, at the moment that I was working on that Porsche 928, removing its oil pan and wrestling to get tools in underneath to move the suspension, I made that decision that I wanted to order a lift post-haste. But I had always planned to put in a lift. So my concrete in this section was poured thicker so that I could put in a 2-post lift. Now, many of you are saying, well, yeah, but lifts are really expensive. They're really not. In fact, this 2-post lift right here, I bought it off eBay, I think in 2018. And it cost me $1,530 delivered to my garage door. Now, it's probably a little more expensive now, and I did put in another couple $100 and other types of parts, electrical and so forth. And it did take us about 2 days to totally assemble and install the lift. But it has been a life changer. It's not just better for safety than being underneath a car on a jack or jack stands, but it makes from the most mundane tasks like oil changes and transmission and differential fluid changes a lot easier. But doing clutch jobs, removing the rear end, and if you're like I am and you have a lot of cars in and out and you are doing a lot of brakes and changing wheels and tires, a lift just saves so much time and saves your body. Now, there are plenty of options out there. You may not want a 2-post lift, or you may not have thick enough concrete for a full frame 2-post lift. There are 4-posts available, and the 4-post lifts, they have the downside of, well, you still need something to lift the axle so you can get your wheels and tires off, and that's why it wasn't a good fit for me. But there are also options if you do not have the roof height. So look out there and see all the portable lifts out there, all the low rise lifts out there. It is a life changer. Trust me. The third thing that you need to know is let there be light, because if you've got heat, you've got a lift. It doesn't matter if you can't see the things you're working on. And it's not just mechanical, it's also the detail work you do on the surface of your car. The more light, the more you can see and enjoy the process of working on your car. Now, especially for very high roofs like this, which is 18 at each side and then goes up in the middle, traditionally, high bay lights have been exorbitantly expensive. But I came up with kind of a creative workaround, and that is I wired plugs all around and hooked them to a central light switch, which allowed me to go out and buy these dual tube LED plug-in units from Costco. At the time, they were about $15, $17 a piece, and they can be either flush mounted to a ceiling, or in this case, I just used braided wire and ran wires and hooked them into turnbuckles at each end and hung them from these wires. And I have 3 daisy chained on the far side of the wall and that side of the wall. And then I have 4 light units daisy chained on 2 strands in the middle. And it provides ample light for really the cost of one single high bay light. And these things are far more energy efficient. I thought it looked a little janky when I did it, but then I've had numerous peers who, upon seeing what I did, actually have copied that in their own workshop. So get the lights on so you can see not only when you're working on cars or a boat or your motorcycles, but you can enjoy them when you're not actually working on them. You can see. Seeing makes all the difference. Okay, on to 4. And number 4, it's time to dress it up with your love. All over, all over. I know, but Madonna's been touring and I have friends who are going to see her, so it's kind of been in my head. But what I mean is, when you have your garage, it makes it so much more interesting and more fun and empowering when the walls are filled with things that reflect your passion. Now, for some people and collectors, they use this opportunity to go out and spend a lot of money on neon signs, on gasoline and petrol memorabilia, die-cast cars, dealership signs, and they can be collector's units and they can spend thousands of dollars for each piece. Or you can take the tact of just finding things for free or near free to reflect what you love. And you can really get creative with it and have some pretty surprising finds. Now, what would you say if I told you that these 3 nose cones on the wall, they were given to me for free? My friend, who is an auto body shop owner, I went in to visit him and he had a Ford GT nose cone in that wonderful heritage paint scheme, just sitting on his floor because he was working on a Ford GT and he offered to give it to me. And he said, oh yeah, and by the way, I also have sitting in my scrap pile the nose from a Maserati I just fixed. Oh, and by the way, if you want a Subaru WRX rally car from the Pro SCCA series, when the guys were here using my shop, fixing their cars in between races, they left one of the nose cones, so I've got all three for free on my wall. Now, not only do I have those, but I have, well, a dashboard and gauges from a Triumph Spitfire. It came in a box of parts for a car that I paid next to nothing for, and some prints and my dad's old car record albums. You know, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Things like license plates, spare wheel covers, hubcaps, trim pieces, badges, emblems, steering wheels, they all make really great wall art, as well as ads from magazines or old posters you had on your wall when you were a kid. All those are great. And it doesn't just make it fun for when you're standing around looking at your other toys. It's really inspirational in those moments where you're working on a particularly hard project and you're losing sight of why you're spending 2 days on a timing belt job and you can't seem to get that one rusty bolt out. You look up, you take a breath, you look at these things that inspire you, and it recharges you to get the job done. Number 5, hold the line. It's not just a Toto song, and it's not something you install or buy for your garage. It's a concept, and that is have rules and stick to them as it applies to people who want to use your garage or its contents. Now, not a week goes by that somebody asks me if I have room to store their car, motorcycle, or boat, or people who want to use my lift or my welder. Now, as a general policy, I don't rent out space anymore. I do occasionally let people use tools, but it depends on who they are. For the most part, when people approach me for storing their vehicles here, they often say that they can't find anywhere else to store their precious car or motorcycle. And as it turns out, for the most part, people have actually found that there are a number of commercial storage places around here, and they have plenty of space, but it just costs a lot of money. So they are asking me to be cheaper, i.e. subsidize their hobby. Now, if I had extra space and I wasn't planning on using it, maybe I'd feel differently. But at this point, I do not allow people to store their vehicles here for a charge. It's not worth the liability for me. Now, I do have exceptions for very close friends and family on a temporary basis. To the same end, I let family and extremely close friends use my lift and occasionally, have their car here to work on it. Like in this case, this Checker Marathon, this is owned by my friend who helped me with that Porsche 928. And we do a lot of work together. And in his garage, he's got a garage, but it's full with other projects. And as a mechanic, he's making money with that space. And he needs to do some body work on this. So it's here temporarily for him to prepare it, to get it ready to be sold. Now that's fine. I have rules, and I stick to them. You should have rules too, and stick to them as well, because that way you're never feeling frustrated by being used when you've put the hard-earned money and time and passion into making your space yours. So those are the 5 things to make your collector workshop garage effective and fun. I'm Sam Baer, the Collector Car Guru. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know, what are your rules in your garage? What do you store there? And what do you put on the walls that you're the most proud of? Because it just makes it more fun for other people to know what options are out there.